We're back at what could be not only my final car boot of the year, but also my best car boot of the year.
Kick us! Duty the Gangster! Rush Tricks! Not get your head!
Hey folks, and welcome to a very special but somewhat solemn video, as this time we are back hunting at the car boot for what could be one of the final times of 2025. As the nights are drawing in and the mornings are staying darker longer, it is coming to the end of the car boot season, and with wet weather on the horizon, this could be our final car boot of the 2025 season. But we are going out with a bang, as this could be not only my best car boot of 2025, it could be one of my best car boots of all time. Trust me, you ain't gonna want to miss this one. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and please subscribe, as I put new videos out every Saturday live at 5, as well as bonus content throughout the week, and I really want you folks along for the ride. And even though we're coming to the end of the car boot season, the hunt never ends. We'll still be hitting up CEX, pawn shops, charity shops, independent gaming stores, anywhere I can find awesome items for the collection. And speaking of, trust me, this time we find some awesome items at the car boot. Here we go then for what could be the final time at the car boot on a Sunday morning in 2025. And you can see the car boot is getting quieter. It is half the size it has been over the summer, and we are drawing to the end of the season. But hopefully this time we can still find some awesome items. And we are starting off strong with some video games right off the bat. We have a selection of PS1 games and some original Xbox games here, including a demo. Now, this was the first stall I got to on the day. I had no change. I was meant to go back and collect these games, and hand on heart, I simply forgot. But moving on, this was cool to see, this gold disc. Now, this was for an employee of Polygram. Very cool to see. I have no idea of the price. I don't really think I'd pick it up, but very cool to see nonetheless. Back to more traditional finds at the car boots and this big bag of video games here. Now, all the games here were just £1 each, and I've said it throughout the year, this is my bread and butter at the car boot, 50p or £1 games. You can see a lady's also hunting next to me. I let her go through the bag first. She found some games, I found some games. Everyone's happy. And like I said, all of these games are just £1 each, and it's a great way to build a collection, as I've said multiple times before. But there was a very strange game here, My Horse and Me for the Wii. Had this been the Xbox 360 version of this game, it would have been the find of the century. Unfortunately, it's the Wii version, but for £1, I had to pick it up, as I'm never paying the crazy price this commands for the Xbox 360. And if for some reason someday I want to play it, at least I can. More and more over the course of 2025, I've been picking up more and more VHS tapes, but only for specific films that hold a special place in my heart, and only for the right price, 50p or £1. So for 50p, I'm grabbing Saving Private Ryan. I got quite excited when I saw this box of games out the corner of my eye, as I saw some games in here which I knew traded into CX for some decent credit. I saw Minecraft. Unfortunately, it didn't have the disc. I see Wii Sports. Unfortunately, it didn't have the disc. You win some, you lose some, and unfortunately this time, I failed, but we move. Now, it's fairly rare I pick up Funko Pops at the car boot, but I do like these full art ones. But comment down below, do you prefer the art style of these Funkos or the more traditional ones? As I said, for the right price, I will pick these up. All of these were priced around market value, so I did pass. But like I said, comment down below your Funko choice. Pretty cool to see these Famicom cartridges. Now, I'm guessing these are unofficial clone cartridges, much like this N64 one here, which are basically just full of games. 501, 116 in one. But out of those hundreds of games, I'm guessing they're pretty much all terrible. They were asking £5 per cartridge, so I did pass, simply because, honestly, I've been burnt by these in the past, and like I said, most of the games are pretty much unplayable. Moving on to some much better video games, but the thing that caught my attention on this table was the Xbox One version of Disney Infinity. Now, I actually really enjoy Disney Infinity. They were asking £10 for this box set, but unfortunately, it didn't have the disc. They were asking £12 for the Witcher Wild Hunt Complete Edition, but I think that's about the value of this game, which is crazy for a disc which has so much content. But something I had to pick up, which I paid a £5 for, was this Star Wars chess game. Vintage PC big box, just a pile of floppy disks. But the main reason I picked this up is the artwork. As much like many of these PC big box games, the artwork on this is absolute fire. I did pass on the mouse. I could have bundled them both together for £8, but I love Star Wars. You would have seen this at the start of this video, and yes, the eagle-eyed amongst you will have realised all of these GBA carts are in fact fakes, reproductions, copies, whatever you want to call them. Now, this is a good way to play some of these games, but more often than not, the saves won't work, the batteries are dodgy, and of course, they aren't the original cartridges. But a cheap way if you want to play these games for a lot cheaper than the price some of these Pokemon games command now. But this stall also had a really good selection of metal CDs, and you know me, I am a massive metal fan, and I'm still a fond collector of physical media, including CDs. Now, all of the CDs here were £3 to £4, which I think is a little bit expensive. When I'm at the car boot, I want to pick up CDs for 50p a pound. Again, call me tight, but I'm chasing after the right price when I'm at the car boot, if you'll excuse the phrase. And these are a little bit overpriced, so I passed. Now, I love trading cards, and here's a cool set. This set of Final Fantasy trading cards. They were asking £60 for the box. I have no idea the value of these, but I had to leave them behind for that price. As I said at the start of the video, the car boot was half the size this time than it normally is in the height of summer, because we are slowly coming to the end of the 2025 season, but the bargains are still out there. You just have to keep hunting. So we saw some 50p PS2 games there, nothing too exciting. Boxes of VHS games here from a house clearance, which more often than not, I normally won't go through these stalls, but I saw VHS and I wanted to see if there's anything cool hiding here. Nothing too exciting except this copy of Batman Forever, but I think if I'm going to pick up the Batman VHS tapes, I'm going to hold out for a box set, because when it comes to some of these vintage trilogies, I love a box set. Now, here's something you don't see every day at the car boot. A boxed, in decent condition N64 game for a decent price. £10 for a boxed CIB N64 game in 2025 at the car boot. Yeah, I'm grabbing that one, even though I'm ashamed to say I did haggle them down on price to £8. But what could I say? When you're at the car boot, it's all about the hustle. But very happy to pick up a boxed CIB N64 game for £8. The same stall also had a really good selection of VHS tapes for just £1 each. And this goes against something I said just a few minutes ago about waiting to pick up box sets. Because when it comes to Star Wars, as like I said earlier, I love Star Wars. I will always pick up VHS variants of the Star Wars movies, because these films have been recut, edited, changed so many times. Every single tape is essentially different, has different artwork, and as a Star Wars fan, what can I say? I'm a completionist. Comment down below if you would take a risk on this PS4 bundle, the console, controller, and a load of games for £75. Now, whenever you pick up a console at the car boot, of course you are taking a gamble whether it will work or not. So I was not feeling lucky today. I did pass. I did ask if they'd sell any of the games separate, but they were sticking to their guns and selling this as a £75 bundle, which is strange as they were selling some games separately on the same table, but all of these games were £5 each. I was going to pick some of these up because Red Dead and SnowRunners would have traded in for more at CEX, but these discs were rough, and it makes me wonder, for that bundle, what condition was every disc in, let alone the console? So I'm glad I passed. As well as collecting video games, I love collecting vintage and modern toys, especially TMNT. And these were the only vintage toys I saw this time. They weren't the greatest figures, they weren't the best price, so I did decide to pass this time. I was tempted to pick this up, this brand new and sealed Lego Minecraft set. They were asking £10. It sells on eBay for about 15, but let me know, would you have picked this up and sat on it for a while? Because we all know in the future, sealed Lego can be valuable. Without a shadow of a doubt, my favourite thing about the car boot is you never know what you're going to find. And do you ever see something which is so terrible you love it? Like, look at this customised Xbox 360 controller with these bullet buttons, a bullet full analog stick. They were asking £10, otherwise I'd have been really tempted to pick it up, simply because it is one of the ugliest, strangest controllers I've ever seen, but for some reason I just absolutely love it. This was a bit disappointing. I saw this copy of Animal Crossing and, much like earlier, no cartridge in there. It's actually really rare I see Switch games at the car boot, but comment down below if you've ever found Switch games at the car boot. Right near the end here, there was this box of Xbox 360 and Xbox One games. These were £1 each, or 3 for £2, which is a bit of a strange price, but I ain't arguing. 3 for £2 is a really good deal, even though massive shout out to my good friend Scott, or should I say more, his daughter, for lending me £1 to pick these up. Final stop at one of the final house clearance stores of 2025. Now, these are always worth having a delve through if you have the time, as you can get some real bargains here, as more often than not they are simply trying to get rid of things. I was a bit gutted that copy of Twisted Metal for the PSP once again had no disc, which seems to be a bit of the theme of the day, but it's always worth digging through these stores, as like I said, more often than not they are simply trying to get rid of this stuff, as I have seen at the end of these car boots them literally giving things away, but sadly not today. I'm not gonna lie, it was sheer luck I stopped at this stall on the way out of the car boot, as this Pac-Man electronic handheld game caught my eye, but then this caught my eye out of the corner of my eye, this copy of Simpsons Hit and Run for the GameCube. Now, this was late in the day, it was gone 10 o'clock, and I couldn't believe this game was still here. But the big question is, can I pick this up for a decent price? There we have it then, folks. That is what could be the final car boot of the 2025 season. So many amazing finds along the way, and trust me, today we might have our best finds of the entire year. Here we are then, back in the games room, and what can I say but wow. If that was the final car boot of the 2025 season, we went out with a bang. We have some absolutely incredible items to add to the collection this time, including quite possibly my find of the year for the 2025 car boot season. But starting off, as always, we have my absolute bread and butter, £1 games at the car boot. I've said it for many years now, this is how I built my collection, picking up games for a 50p, £1 at the car boot, and these were all £1 each. So first off, we have Prince of Persia, The Forgotten Sands for the Xbox 360. Then we have 2K Sports NHL 2K7, because honestly I quite enjoy an ice hockey game, and this one was in really good condition and complete, so for £1 I picked that one up. Then Vancouver 2010 for the PS3, because much like the ice hockey games, I enjoy these kind of Olympic sports games because I just love these kind of button tapping games. And then finally we have a game which I simply picked up because the Xbox 360 version of this game I'm never going to add to the collection. I'm never paying the insane price that this game commands on the Xbox 360. It is the legendary My Horse and Me 2, and for £1 I think I'm quite happy to stick with the Wii version of this game. Next up, we have our first VHS tape of the car boot this time, and for 50p I had to pick up this copy of Saving Private Ryan. To this day, still one of the greatest war films of all time, and there's just something about watching a film like this with that VHS grain and flicker which just adds to the experience. This is how I experienced this film back in the day, and honestly still one of my favourite ways to watch movies like this, and for 50p this is the kind of price I'm happy to pay for VHS at the car boot. Next up, keeping it retro, we have a big box PC game, Star Wars Chess, and just look at the artwork on this one. This for me is what's great about big box PC, the artwork, and as a Star Wars fan, well, just look at it. This is a thing of absolute beauty. I paid £5 for this, but it is CIB and in fantastic condition with literally 2 stacks of floppy disks. And look how many floppy disks this game takes. It has all of the inserts in here, and it has a really hefty manual, and the artwork of this game is absolutely incredible. I'm really hoping to find a copy of this game for the Mega CD very soon, as this one I'd love to play. I've watched playthroughs of this game on YouTube and it looks pretty unhinged. Like, in this game you can play as C-3PO and basically murder the whole of the Star Wars galaxy, which sounds absolutely incredible, but for now the PC version, the artwork, it's just something I had to have in a collection. Keeping it Star Wars themed, next up we have some Star Wars VHS tapes. Now unfortunately I couldn't find the entire trilogy, but anytime I see a variant of any of the Star Wars films, the original trilogy, I will always pick them up because honestly, other than the fact you get different incredible artwork on every single one of these tapes, more times than not, you're probably going to get a different version of the films because these have been re-released, recut, re-edited, remastered so many times. It seems that no two VHS tapes are the same. Like, you can go back and watch this film in so many different versions. And much like Saving Private Ryan, this is how I first experienced these classic movies. And what can I say? For £1 each, I'm happy to add another 2 variants to the collection. We were coming to the end of the car boot when I picked up this small bundle of games here. And massive shout out to my good friend Scott, or should I say his daughter, for lending me a spare £1 to pick these ones up. I just had a £20 note, couldn't break it. I am literally in your debt. So we managed to pick up 3 games for just £2, an absolute bargain. So first off we have the fantastic Sniper Elite V2, because honestly, who doesn't enjoy shooting Nazis in the lower extremities at great distance, in great detail? A fantastic game, and honestly, of all the Sniper Elite games, this is probably still my favourite. Then we have Splinter Cell Blacklist, an absolutely incredible franchise which needs to come back, and hopefully it will, because they're releasing an anime movie or series of this on Netflix soon, so hopefully it kickstarts this series, because this is one of the best stealth-based games of all time. And then finally we have, sticking with the Tom Clancy theme, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands. A really good cheap game to pick up for the Xbox One, and honestly, for £2 for 3 games, you can't really go wrong. So massive shout out to Scott, or should I say more his daughter, for lending me the money for these. Which brings us to our penultimate pickup this time. And this is something I very rarely see at the car boot. And when I do, they're neither in this good condition or for this good a price. I bought this copy of Kobe Bryant NBA Courtside for the N64 for just £8. It did have a £10 sticker on it, but I managed to haggle it down to just £8. And this is in absolutely incredible condition. Like, I've seen boxed N64 games at the car boot before, but normally they are absolutely roached, and this one's in really good condition. I didn't realise this was an exclusive game to the N64. It is complete, but it is missing the insert, but I do have spare inserts. It comes with a surprisingly chunky manual, considering it's a sports game, and of course the cartridge, which for some reason has been packaged like a prescription. So let's see what my prescription is this time. It is the cartridge in pretty good condition. It does have a sticker on the back, but honestly, for £8 for a CIB N64 game at the car boot, if not for our final pickup this time, this would have been the pickup of the day. Which brings us on to our final find this time. What could be our final find of the 2025 season? And we are going out on a high. Not only was it my best find this time, it was quite possibly my best find of the 2025 season. This copy of The Simpsons Hit and Run for the Nintendo GameCube. It's the Player's Choice Edition. It is CIB with the manual in incredible condition, and I paid just £10 for this game. Now, I knew at the time this was a good deal, but I cannot believe how much this game is commanding now on CX. Now, I could flip this in and double my money, but I'm keeping this one in the collection because this is one of the greatest Simpsons games of all time. An absolute undisputed banger. But the craziest thing is, not only did I pick this up for £10, was the timing. I picked this up right at the end of the car boot. This was my final find of not only the car boot but also the 2025 season, and I picked this up around 10 o'clock in the morning. The car boot had been going for hours by the time I found this game, and it goes to show, even if you're not getting up at the crack of dawn, even if you think you've missed the deals are still out there. So many people must have passed by this game and not picked it up, and honestly, it's half luck, half just perseverance, just keeping hunting, never stopping. The bargains are out there, you just need to find them, and hopefully this one goes to prove, even if you're not up at the crack of dawn, sometimes the late worm gets the worm. Or should that be bird? Regardless, £10, fantastic pickup. What a way to end the 2025 car boot season. There we have it then, folks. That's what could be the final and best car boot of the 2025 season. But who knows what the future holds. The stars may align. The sun may shine. There may be more car boots still on the horizon. It just depends on the weather. And if the weather's right, I'll be there. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe. And as always, keep playing the game. See you soon.